Instacart shoppers know groceries. They know that you can't make guacamole with rock-hard avocados. They know how to quickly find those peanut butter pretzels you can never find. And they keep you in the know by giving you updates about your order along the way. Let Instacart shoppers help take shopping off your plate so you can get time and energy back for what really matters. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
Okay, this is a really cool interview, so be prepared. You're going to go places you might not have gone before because we're talking Sasquatch. Don't call him Bigfoot because that's kind of like rude. Or depending on some people, wherever you talk to, they say Bigfoot is not, it doesn't honor the presence. It kind of makes it into, a property thing where they wouldn't call us, and I would think of a derogatory name being, 2 feet. I don't think they would call us that. So we're going to go with Sasquatch. And my guest is somebody who has a really cool connection with Sasquatch. And you can check him out on YouTube. And this is under Sasquatch BC, The True Story. All right. So that's one way to connect. He's also on Facebook. And you can find him under Brian Bland. All right. Now, Brian, I saw your videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't remember how I connected with Michael Harrell. He says, yeah, Brian's a friend. You need to talk to him. So that's how that happened. All right. So yeah, he claims you're a friend. There you go.
Well, he's making a lot of claims these days.
He's good at that. Yes.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a while. I'm not sure if we're quite at the friendship level yet, but we're not adversaries. Well, hey, a good relationship of like 2 guys who host a little fun little show or whatever. What we're kind of playing around with. I mean, you have to kind of have some adversity.
Yes. Well, you guys are a little cantankerous. Each one of you have your own little quirks that it plays right into his, for the most part. Last time the interview I saw with you guys, it played right into his game. He was being quite, I guess that's the best word, is cantankerous. Obstinate would be another word. And at the same time, though, when you cover the stuff about the Enlightenment, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Nobody knew that was where it was going. Okay? That was brilliant.
Well, no, it was just off the top of our heads. We just have a good chemistry when we talk together, and sometimes something fun and good comes out of it. So, when you're talking from your heart, and you're having fun, that's where the truth, and that's where the vibration we want to be is. It's all a love vibration, right? So it's all good.
Well, and I think that's what is a very, very crucial part of your experience with Sasquatch, and that's what I wanted to get into. Did you anticipate this kind of connection? How did it start for you? Because right now you're talking to people who don't know anything about you, and can you give us a backstory?
Well, I had a few little incidents when I was a kid that were peculiar. Did you want to hear those? Or just maybe if you want to get more to the Sasquatch stuff. But
no, let's
kind of like precursor.
Let's start with a kid, because that's what that's when a lot of this stuff, when you have an awareness that you're seeing a reality that other people aren't tapped into, and you either say no, it's not real, or you go, well, let me see what's going on here. So how did it start as a kid? What were those experiences?
Okay, well, even before the experiences, like even with my family or whatever, I just always thought, why am I different? Like, why don't I think like these people do? Why don't I care about the stuff that they care about? Like money and houses. Even as a kid, I was thinking, I just knew I was different. I couldn't figure out why. I just thought it was like there was something wrong with me, actually. But and it all became clear, like in 2012, like it did for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But backing up, like I always thought it was something different about me, and it doesn't mean special or whatever. Or I'm just saying, didn't feel like I fit in. So when I was about 19, I was doing rock and roll with a guy in Vancouver, BC. And I was just, like we're young guys, whatever. I was just sleeping on a mattress in his basement at his parents' house, of all things. And as I just laid down, and I saw a glimmering outline of a humanoid figure standing at the foot of my bed. And it was completely transparent, but it looked like the outline was like fluorescent lights. And I think they were white, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
sparkly, and it looked like a chalk line from a crime scene kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked to my left, and it was on its hands and knees looking at me, and then it just dissipated. And it was funny because, you would think, well, that's going to scare the crap out of you, right?
Yeah.
But seriously, it didn't faze me. It's not because I'm particularly brave or anything. It's just like I thought about it the next day, and I just thought that was kind of neat. And then, when I thought about it later, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's because I knew who that was, on the conscious level, but very close to the conscious level. So there was that. And then in about 2009, 10, 8 area, my current girlfriend and I were both married to other people. And for about a 2-year period, in our beds, we were finding little droplets of blood. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know, yeah. I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a red flag.
Well,
that's a red flag.
Yeah, I know, but I've never had anything bad develop after that. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. I think about that too. I know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we both had these little droplets of blood show up in our beds that we couldn't account for. No nosebleeds, no cuts. Nothing, unexplained. And we were both married to other people at the time. We just couldn't explain it. And then we found out when we met up many years later, and then started having all these amazing experiences together, and with Sasquatch, and she's connected too, and had her own unique experiences onto herself and with me. We found out that we had this going on at the same time, approximately 3 years before we met. So, yeah, I agree. That I thought about that and wondered what that was. I mean, somebody was tinkering with us, but the only conclusion that I can come up with is that it's been very good for both of us.
Yeah.
And it's put us in a really good heart space. So.
Okay, let me interject. My own partner that I met as a kid, 14 or so, when we first connected, and then went our separate ways and didn't reconnect for another 28, 30 years. But at the time, he told me that there was a light, we were going summer camp, and there was a light across the way at a cabin. He said, that light's blinking at you. And I told him, you don't want to say that in front of people because they'll think you're crazy. And so when he met me years later, and now I'm known for the talking to night lights thing, he says, well, you know what? Remember when you told me I was crazy? I kind of took it to the next level. But it was really so that part of it, he already knew. And it was the same thing as, I think in some way, shape, or form, that we were connected at the beginning, so we would recognize each other. We would know each other and be able to reconnect like no time had passed later on. So that, I think that's like what your connection is. But the blood in the bed, okay, now that's a whole different level, because that's usually more of an ET element where there's something else happening, and either you're being monitored or taught or downloaded, that kind of thing. It says there's some kind of I think this is just a supposition, some kind of a preparation or an introduction or something going on behind the scenes where you're both part of a bigger piece of the equation. I think that's fascinating.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Wendy. I'm pretty practical, believe it or not, with the stories I have and whatever. And I mean, we don't have enough time to get into even scratch the surface, but yeah, it's there are some amazing magical things going on out there that are just beyond belief. And, I wouldn't have believed any of this stuff before. I thought I was open-minded, but I was also skeptical. And so I actually got a little bit of that, which is actually good, right?
Well, yeah, you have to be grounded. And that's how I put it. You have to, there's some things that will happen. You don't want to jump to conclusions and make assumptions. You really want to go back and say, is that a projection? Am I putting my wish onto it, or am I allowing it to give me information? And so I think, that way you're being, you're discerning of, okay, what about this is unique, and am I making more of it, or am I just being receptive and standing back to let it show me what's supposed to happen? That's how I address it.
Right.
Okay, I want to know when you When did it start? When did you realize that you had this connection or awareness? Okay, because we have to take a break, and that's what I want to come back with. All right, when it started for you, when you first noticed. Okay, so
even as a child, I was always interested in Sasquatch, more so than Loch Ness Monster or other cryptids. It was always, I seemed to, for some reason, be interested with Sasquatch, and I was always looking in the woods in BC when I was driving through, hoping to see one. And then in 2012, I was walking along the dikes, which is a little riverway in my hometown here, and off to the right, I was walking with my dogs, and off to the right loomed these mountains, and I got a energetic call, a knowing, that, like a download, or I guess, download, I've had lots of, it's kind of different than a download. It was like an instant knowing, or like a inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the mountains, a knowing that I had to go there. Something was calling me to go to those mountains.
Yes.
And then immediately after that, I met people like Susan, this fellow called Randy Brisson, who took me out in the woods, and, right from day one, we had interaction, and the teaching started, and it was, it was just like everything just connected. The dots all started connecting, like, well, you know how that works.
Well, wait. Okay, so for a newbie, what was the interaction? What was it? A sound? I mean, they have the sounds of knocking, or was it telepathic?
We were down on the trail below, looking up a mossy slope, and a couple hundred yards up, we heard we were knocking, and we were getting knocking back, and it was like we go knock, 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 and we get knock, knock, knock back, and knock, 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 knock.
Yes.
Kind of playing a little game back and forth. So yeah. I mean, what they want, if they're interested in you, they want to get your attention right away. I've seen that with a lot of other people who have come up that they're interested in.
Well, that's part of it. So they already knew, or they already on that other level, that sense level, they are responding to your desire, your wish, your need.
It's more to get you interested in them, so that you start thinking about them, so that they can start working with you, right?
Uh-huh.
They give you something to catch your interest, right? And then you go out, and then they start teaching you whatever. So it's all about the learning and the teaching.
But most people there's a great number of people who really aren't in that space. They're wanting to go out and see a big hairy being that scares them to death, and then there's all this thing of you're wanting to have some kind, either a footprint or hair or some kind of evidence, and that's what they're looking for. And the very last thing they think about is something that's going to connect with you telepathically and then change your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, how it turns out is you start out having an extreme interest in Sasquatch, and I still do, and by default, or maybe that's not the right word, but however you say it, you end up finding out a lot about them, and you even get to know them, their personalities and stuff. But really, the crux of the biscuit here is it's all about you. They want you to connect with your heart, get on that higher vibration of no judgment. And, people talk about the conscious shift and a new world happening. As far as I'm concerned, it's people getting on that vibration of no judgment, because when you're on there is a change. You can't do the lower vibrational things that we do, the hating, the prejudice, the greed, worrying about stuff that really doesn't really matter on a universal scale, because you have that universal knowing. So it's, you know what I mean? That's how the conscious, that's what they are trying to do. I know that sounds weird for people who are going out to sit around the campfire talking about Sasquatch and hoping to get scared, but that's my understanding of them. And, it's not just fanciful talking. I've had a lot of, it's been like a university of education, and I don't know what grade I would be in. But you start off in kindergarten, but you build the way up, right? It's like a spiritual teaching, what it is.
Okay, I think I'm in trade school. All right, I'm in the trade school.
Well, yeah, some of the stories you were telling me earlier, your trade school, that's just after high school?
Yeah, it's kind of away from college and away from high school. Yeah, it's right in there. It's kind of specializing, but you really don't always have a specialty. You just know that you're going to be able to, once you hit the ground, you're going to start running and it'll be worthwhile. That's that's the way I
Okay.
interpret it.
Okay. Well, that's a good place.
Well,
Good one.
it's part of it is a jack of all trades, because I never know where I'm going to go next. But I want to have a groundwork, a framework, a foundation, so that I can be flexible. I don't have to be stuck in any specific area because there's so much going on. I want to be able to be fluid and adapt if it's required. So that's part of it, and that's what happened with the stuff that I got into, having my experiences as a kid, that I never really knew what direction it was going. I knew it was fascinating and it was interesting, and other people didn't have these things happening, and if I talked about them, then other people, it made them uncomfortable and nervous. So I kept it to myself. But I didn't, I didn't ever really focus on anything like Sasquatch. I was more interested in ghosts and that kind of thing, and haunted houses, and had that. But when I realized I was junior high, and I was writing my best kind of Stephen King stories, and I realized those things started happening, and I thought that was probably not a good idea, because the more I focused on that, the more I had that happen, and I thought, I really don't want to go this direction. So that was a detour from there. So that's why, trade school, there's all sorts of opportunities there, and you don't have to be any kind of a specialist. You can just go and have some good, I think, opportunities to just kind of basic skills, survival skills, life skills, things that will get you through. Make sense?
And especially somebody like you don't want to be in a real dark or focusing on a really dark place anyway, because we create our own reality.
It'll land right on your door. Land right on your door, yeah. And
yeah, it comes boomeranging right back at you. So,
yeah.
When as you consciousness raises or whatever, you realize how much we actually do create our own reality, and how important our thoughts are for not only ourselves, for everybody.
Well, you're another
pretty fast, really. Yeah.
Especially like when you're in the environment you're in, you carry those thoughts with you. And when we talked before, and I've seen your interviews with Michael Harrell, and that there's just a sense of fun, a sense of joy, a sense of lightheartedness. And I know that, especially with the Sasquatch element, there is that humor there, and some of that you can see or feel in people who are attracted to that. And I think that's just, it's a fun thing that we don't always notice, that there's this joyful energy, and then that is attracting a certain type of encounter with Sasquatch. And I think that's huge to point that out to people, that you're going to draw a being who may have a lesson for you. And whether you like it or not, it's because of the energy you put out. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. They can read your energy. They can read your thoughts. They know your intent. They know what you're up to before you do. I mean, actually, like time does not exist on the other side. I mean, of course, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And and in their reality, if they're, I guess it's fifth dimension or whatever vibration they're vibrating on, they can manipulate time or whatever too. So
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
They're pretty evolved. I mean, that's a lot of their lessons that they've shown me of evolved time, where they put something in my path, and then I walk, upon something else, and it's, they knew like a week or a month or years before, kind of thing, even, or whatever. It's just uncanny.
Okay.
Or just instantaneous, right?
Let's revisit that. All right. So when you say that they gave you an obstacle or something and put it in your path, so give us an example that it happened years later. What was that?
Well, for instance, like glyphs. I have an understanding of quite a few of the symbols, and I can understand what they mean.
Yes.
So then then I realized, like it's between you and them. The understanding of glyphs, if you have a connection with them. People ask me, what do glyphs mean? What's the meaning of the A, the X, all these little stick signs that people are finding? And I say it's got to be between you and them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's telepathic. What A means for me, which is already my clan leader, is not what it's going to mean for you, unless she's connecting with you, or unless you want it to mean that. It's telepathic between you and them, right? But
Yes.
it's consistent once you get that meaning. So,
Okay, hold on.
I came up.
Just a minute. Let's go back and just for people who haven't seen your videos, and again, that's a nice little collection here, Sasquatch BC, The True Story on YouTube. You are interacting with Sasquatch, and there are wonderful responses. These are little, like hieroglyphics. These are little symbols made out of stones, rock, trees, branches, twigs that are in some kind of a formation, and that's why you're calling them a glyph, because it's a symbol and it has relevance. And so what we're saying right now, and you're saying it's a code it's between you, the individual, and the individual or that group of Sasquatch that you're trying to make some kind of a bridge to communicate. All right. I just wanted to go back because not everybody knows right offhand that you have this connection, which I think is brilliant because it's a language and it's a way of, we don't have to speak the same language, but we have to have some kind of between the two, some kind of a template. And this is what we're working with. You're working with a code, and once you've got those symbols laid out, then you start developing, I guess, a higher form of communication. So I just wanted to say that's what when we're talking about glyphs, that's what that's about.
Right.
Okay, so I interrupted. I'm sorry.
I hope I can remember what I was saying. Okay, so anyway, so I don't know. It's kind of like some of these. You kind of have to have the experience, and kind of. I hope that I'm explaining them properly. But anyway, so I realized, like the Y stick is a stick that I see all the time, like the X, the A, and H, and P, and 4, and whatever, and a whole bunch of other ones. I know, but the Y is so common, and I just never, thought what it meant or for some reason. And, and they always let you know what that reason is. So then one day I thought, I've always said that it's between you and them, the meaning, what it means. So I said it means Sasquatch and man connected.
Ah, yes.
Because the two prongs at the top, Sasquatch and man, and then the big shaft is connected, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So then the very next day, I went out and I'm getting all these glyphs, and I call them combo glyphs, where they have multiple symbols and whatever in them, like they speak like sentences and stuff.
Right.
And I was finding all the time, right, as soon as I came up with that understanding, my girlfriend and myself's glyph woven into the Y stick. So it was like man, Sasquatch, all connected. You and her are connected. You're connected to us. I was getting all kinds of confirmation that they knew, or that was the meaning for the Y stick. They were giving me all kinds of glyphs that they put in other ones that I knew that made sense in context of the meaning. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And then, and so then I was looking back. I was at work, and I worked graveyard, so I got all night to write and do all my crazy stuff. And
I love the night shift.
I was looking back at one of my favorite glyphs of all time, and it was Susan my glyph. It's kind of like a fish, almost like the twin flame kind of thing, almost. I guess an oval kind of thing. And I looked at it, and it's just one of my favorites because it's just so perfect and just so beautiful, and just like I would say a no-brainer. Like there's just no doubt. And I looked at it, 3 or 4 years later, and I seen the little Y curled up into it. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm tingling right now."
Yeah.
Tingling when I said that with the energy of them confirmation that, they already knew 3 or 4 years before that I was going to get that understanding. They knew, because time doesn't exist. Another quick example would be I'll be walking along in the forest path, and I'll say, I wonder if it's like this, or I wonder if this is how it is. And then the answer will be there immediately, right in front of me on the forest floor in a glyph or something, or, just the answer is right there. So, time has no barriers for them. They can put little cookie crumb trails of teachings in your path, and then you can walk into it in your linear understanding, right?
See, that's it's so fascinating. There's somebody else I saw in the movie, and there's a little movie I posted online, and I can share that with other people too, because I think it's a very helpful film. It's called Sasquatch and Us, and it was part of the package that you got if you ordered the movie Letters from the Big Man, and this was by Christopher Munch. It was years ago, and I interviewed one of the ladies from that film, and I just thought it was such a fabulous film, an introduction to Sasquatch, Kathleen Jones Odom. She was also a channel. And in the film, there's a couple of things I outlined. As one of the things was a message from Sasquatch, and it was, why don't you love yourselves enough to love your planet? So speaking to the greater good of where we are and a higher purpose for all of this. And then the other one was one of the guys said that I found the more I studied the subject, even remote places, the more I got subtle indications the subject was studying me, which is exactly what you're describing, is that as you are walking through there and asking your questions, it's very connected and responding and giving you feedback.
Well, yeah, you're in your classroom right out there. But it's, and, sometimes they'll do something for you once in a while. If you ask them for help, they'll help you, so.
Okay.
They don't usually. It's usually things are on their terms. But if you're in trouble or whatever, or something, or really in angst, they have helped me out many a time.
Okay, I want to get into that, because today, as I was trying to get ready for this interview, and things were happening, I'm getting a friend sent me a little email about a house that's in California for sale, and they have Sasquatch. Somebody in a Sasquatch costume going through the motions of living in the house and cooking, I think, cupcakes or something, and reading a manual on mushrooms. Anyway, I'm getting all this interplay with Sasquatch and finding the documentary again, which I hadn't seen for a while, and then this little love note with the Sasquatch and Us that goes along with it. Okay, so I have all this, and my husband is trying to do something, and he wants me to hang on to his phone to make sure he doesn't miss a phone call. So I'm hanging on to the phone, and I smell something cooking. And that's what he was supposed to be doing, cooking. But it smells like it might be burning. I'm thinking, whoa, he's gone a little bit overboard with this. And then I realize, it's smelling pretty strong, and the phone rings. I grab the phone. I go to the kitchen where he's supposed to be. He's not there. He comes rushing at me, grabs the phone, goes to the kitchen, and saves whatever it was that was going to burn. And then we look at the phone. Well, for one thing, there was nobody on the phone. And then there was also no number.
Wow.
No number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I thought, okay, Sasquatch, I know what this is about. But it was also because the food was a special food we make for our dog. And so it was so cool because Gracie's food was saved.
I know. I mean, it's. I say wow because it's just like a little different. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they are just so capable of so much stuff. It's like wow. Yeah, like wow.
Yeah, it's that telepathic connection, and we could explain and make it all logical and something, but I don't do that anymore. Because for me, it's like a sit and spin. Yeah. I don't need to do that. It's like, okay, I know what it was about. I know the context of everything that was happening. And this was a nice little tweak that said, got that.
Yeah.
Got that.
Like for I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, it was just.
I'm sorry, but for like the thought placement. I mean, there's a lot of thought placement, and I have mind speak and stuff too, but a lot of thought placement, and that's how they teach you too, or me or whatever, a lot. To put a thought in my head, like I said, and give me the answer right away. Like I'm walking around, and I'm seeing these structures that they make, but kids also make them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes, there's a group effort. Kid will make something, and the Sasquatch will come up and mess with it, or vice versa. But a lot of the ones I find, I know are made by Sasquatch, and then there's a chance that kids are involved too. Mm-hmm. But Sasquatch do string and stuff that people use, and they even put little toys and all kinds of stuff. Because they're basically human.
Yeah.
But but I'm walking around and I'm seeing these structures, and I'm seeing they're tied at the top with string. Like not real professional job, and it's usually old string that looks like it's been dug out of the garbage or like 30 years ago or something, which is peculiar too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it still puts the thought in my head: string kits, just. Well, I don't need this. Why do you have to put the string in? And then basically, I looked down on the ground. Actually, it was my friend was with me. 95% of the time, it would just be them and me involved. But in this case, my friend was there, and he said, "Look at this." But just as the thought came into my head, so it's basically the same thing. And actually kind of cooler because they had him involved too. So he said, "Look at this." Just as I'm thinking, string kids. And I look down and I see a classic T glyph, which is a very common glyph of theirs. Basically, when I say a T glyph, I mean the letter T.
Okay.
And, they're made, the nice ones that I like are generally made with nice white peel sticks. And, that the T is like, it's not something like, might be a T or something. Like, they're always perfectly centered. They're like stocky, snap little sticks. They're not like random. I know what I'm looking at. So, but anyway, so I'm looking at it, and there it is, right there. He says, "Look at this." But the thing is that the horizontal piece is a peeled snap stick, which is what I would expect. But the vertical piece, the stem, that is directly centered in the middle of the horizontal piece, exactly, is that string. That I was thinking about.
Yes. Isn't that cute?
And it's just basically them saying, "Look at dummy, we make them. Quit asking, like it's really magical."
Well, the thing with a string, string theory, if there's a mathematical equation that you're trying to get involved, with more geometry and more of this higher math element that we're not there yet in terms of how they can make time disappear and do something that's going to forecast your future, which of course we aren't able to do that ourselves. The other thing with a string is when you have to remember something, you tie a string around your finger. And so that's like memory and working with those kinds of cues to get you to think at a higher level. And then when you're rewarded, we're like children. So they're giving us toys. They're giving us little carrots to say, got it. Now next step. So I think, that thing of where they're playing with toys, well, we're the kids. We're the children. We're the ones that are trying to learn this. So they're giving us a pleasant and nice, positive way to tweak us and help us be inspired and not frightened, and then challenged and motivated, which is what you are. And to me, that sense of finding that when it's right down at your feet, you're just that aha moment of, oh my gosh, that's right. I hear the enthusiasm in your voice.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, and they've shown me so many lessons with time, so many lessons. Like I'll walk in someplace, it takes 20 minutes. I'll walk out and it takes 5 minutes, and it's uphill, and it feels like I'm going down, like that kind of stuff. It's like bizarre stuff. And then, we can get into like being zapped with energy, and it's just like, it's a crazy, beautiful experience. When I say being zapped, I'm not talking about like bad stuff. Although I generally, there was one time it was not that great, but it wasn't like, I just think that they just overestimated or whatever. It wasn't like they were trying to.
Okay, wait, were they trying to warn you? Was there something they were trying to?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what. Well,
every once in a while,
there is. Sometimes they don't want you to come somewhere.
Yes.
Someplace.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
So,
okay,
it could have been, but my friend and I were walking along, and all of a sudden we got like zapped, and we were like both on our hands and knees on the forest floor, and like we couldn't get up for about 2 or 3 minutes, just crawling around. And then when we did get up, we felt like, are we having a stroke or what's going on? We were like out of it for like 2 or 3 hours.
Really charged.
Generally, that was the worst. I mean, it's never been like that before. Usually, I mean, something else along those lines would be like Dorothy walking through the poppy field where you're walking through, they've done that. And that might be they don't really want you around in a sensitive area, but that's very few and far between. Usually when they zap you with some kind of knowing or an energy or something, or some of the zaps are like teachings.
Mm-hmm.
and that's a totally different kind of thing. But I wanted to relay, because I know we don't have a lot of time. It's great talk. I'm loving it, and thank you very much for everything.
Yeah.
But I did want to kind of, because we're talking about time, I wanted to relay a story that a lady told me, and I want to tell it to you because it's really speaks about the time thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, so many of my lessons are about time too. But also, I really trust her, and she's just one of those people that, she's truthful.
Okay.
She's got a connection with Sasquatch. So what she told me, and I believe it because of what I've experienced, is that the Sasquatch had her at one point. They were with her, and they had her walking amongst people that they had frozen in time, kind of thing, kind of like something like on Star Trek.
Yes.
And they were like, they had stopped the time for the people. They were like actually frozen. And she's walking, and they're walking around and interacting and doing all kinds of stuff around them or whatever, just doing their regular stuff as these people are frozen. And that was a lesson for her that they can manipulate time. Now, if you think of that, I mean, they could go and they could put a little rock or a little flower here and something here and there, and they could put 2 or 3 things in your path, and you wake up and la-di-da-di-da, and oh, look at this, and oh, wow, look at this. And,
yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
And I believe the lady, because I know her integrity and her character, and from my experiences, I believe that is absolutely true.
Okay, I'm going to affirm that with you because I interviewed John Foster, who's had these UFO experiences like for 40 years, and some of the things that he talks about is being in groups where everybody else around is frozen, and they're not.
Yep.
So it's like the time stands still for them. And I think what happens is that at that level that they've been advanced to a faster vibration, and so they're not really frozen. They're just, from our point of view, if we're in that vibration, the higher frequency, we're moving so much faster that they look slow, like a Star Trek episode, remember?
Right. No, yeah, and I think with the vibration thing, getting off of that, I was thinking about that today. I was doing a little video. I thought I'll go out in the wild and do it. I mean, I'm always out in the wild, but I thought I'd film out there. But I think that the various states that people see them in, like, well, completely invisible isn't actually saying them, but invisible, and then, partially cloaked, and then almost fully materialized, and there's little sparkles of light, and as, like in the Predator kind of mode, and just in that completely solid mode, just touch before being fully materialized and fully materialized. I mean, that's just got to be different energy frequencies.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Well, so they have a mastery over energy and time and all that stuff. I mean, they're just, so people think that they're going to go out there, and I'm not trying to lecture anybody or whatever, but it's just the basic facts that they're going to go out there and try to fool them and
I know.
trick them or whatever. They're probably out of their league.
Yeah. Okay. We're setting a trap for Sasquatch. Look, we'll see if Sasquatch walks in it, and they're all standing right there going, yeah, okay, this is great. Hey.
Okay. Look at this guy today.
Okay. Real quick though, for people who want to connect and watch your YouTube video, Sasquatch BC, The True Story, and you, one a week? How often?
How many videos do I do? I try to. I'm kind of obsessed with stuff. It's keeping me from. Excuse me.
That's the fun part. When you do stumble into stuff like this, it is an obsession. I know that feeling because it's like it's so exciting. You find this world of wonder and you want to share it with other people, and you don't have enough time in the day to do everything you want to do. And that's why you're mentioning that book. You're just kind of dropping aside there. Okay, so we're gonna say that you're working on a book, and it will be coming out sometime, hopefully, in our lifetime, but maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. You know what? Maybe, but I trust in the way that they guide me too. Maybe there's a lot more that has to be written in that book.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they're kind of just, I mean, they kind of, because they guide your hand when I'm writing, and I can feel their hand and their thoughts and their teaching all the way through it. So,
okay.
Maybe there's something more to, that I have to complete or something.
It's not quite done, but you're working on it. Okay. All right. So, with that, We'll add the links and things like that to the website, and you can check that out, Wendy's Coffee House and Audio Boom, where the longer interview is going to run, all right? So if you have to tune out now because it's on the radio, guess what? If you go on the internet to Audio Boom, you can hear the rest of the interview. And thank you, Brian. All right, so the rest of the interview, which is starting right now, isn't that convenient? Time flew. We're in the future. So think about that.
I thought, you know what? I thought we got so much in and it was so intriguing that I thought, oh, we're already at the end of the hour.
No, we're good. But that's the thing about this, is that you have so much information to get in a short amount of time that it flies, and then there's still so much you can't cover. I wanted to go back to when you saw the shimmering being in your bedroom, kneeling on the floor. Why kneeling? Kneeling? That's kind of an interesting. Usually, when I've seen beings at the end of my bed, they were cloaked, and they had robes on. I could not see their faces; they were covered. And when I realized, and I was trying to focus on them, and they knew I was up, then they said, "She's awake," and then they disappeared, and I was so annoyed. But they had a clipboard and they were talking about me, and I heard them say something about, I don't know, I was half awake, half asleep. I didn't know what they were saying, but when I realized they were talking about me and then they said she's awake and disappeared, I thought, well, it was about me, and I really am miffed that they are not sharing their notes. So I'm taking it. Yours wasn't. Yours didn't have.
What did you want to know about on the hands and knees? You mean?
Well, did anything?
To me, it looked like.
Yeah, what was it?
To me, it just looked like he was right beside me, like right up beside me, on all fours, and with his head turned right towards me, like he was looking at me really, really closely.
Okay. And was it a shimmery, like, they described the predator being, or a being that has this, and all I can say is a shimmer being, because that's to me what it looks like, is a shimmer.
Well, the three ways that I could maybe put it into somebody's mind is that there was nothing in the middle. It was like a chalk outline of a human being,
mm-hmm.
with no substance in the middle, like I said, and it was like glowing like fluorescent lights,
mm-hmm.
Along the outline, right?
Okay. So yeah. See, that's what. And how old were you?
18 or 19.
Okay. Did anything significant happen around that time? Do you remember? Was there anything that you were studying or curious about, or was this? See, to me, I think it's like it's setting a tone for something.
Girls.
Okay, well, aside from the obvious, whoa, I left that one wide open now, didn't I? Okay, all right. Well, obviously the being wasn't there for that, I don't think.
No. Although the Sasquatch do play matchmaker. They do play Cupid.
Well, see, that's what I'm thinking, because of the way that they knew that you were going to reconnect with your current friend, your current companion, that was kind of in the cards. No, I've had mine speak with them. Thought placement, messages that they want her and I. They have something that they want her and I to do together, work together for them. So, there's the book. There's the book.
So they. Well, no, I put that in the book already. But they've made that abundantly clear, and I mean, and her and I have had we're so connected and had so many. It's just that's a whole different topic.
Well,
and
what do they tell her? What do they tell her?
What's that?
What do they tell her? Because they're connecting with both of you. So, what kind of insight do they give her?
Well, she basically is right on board with me about like that we're all one and all connected, and that of no judgment. And,
mm-hmm.
And her heart is just so open and beautiful. It always has been, and it's I think since we've been together, it's kind of enhanced both of us. So she's basically on board with me, but she's not going to agree with everything. If she doesn't agree with something, we'll have a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's sometimes, a complimentary.
Sometimes heated. No, I'm just joking. But, she has an opinion and she'll state it, and she's not like so we discuss stuff.
Well, Andy and I are the same way.
But yeah, we're basically on board.
Yeah,
we're basically on board.
For me, it has to do with there's somebody who doesn't make fun of you, somebody who doesn't discount you, somebody who doesn't reject or make you feel small because your views don't match the mainstream. Somebody who says, "Oh, that's interesting," and supports you because he's seen the same things that I've seen that are completely off the wall and don't exist for the mainstream. These things are paranormal, and for us, they're normal. So it's like it helps to have somebody who's right there beside you, validating these kinds of things. And I think that's part of what she's there for.
They're working with her. Yeah, yes, they're working with her just like they are with me. And I mean, it really is. It really does make it easier, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Although she lives in the States and I live in Canada, so that's not that easy right now. But we did find a loophole, so I'm excited. Tomorrow I'm going to go. I'm going to be able to go see her. How
did you manage? Well, maybe that should be not public, but since
it's legal. It's legal.
Okay, because I know at one point the border there was shut.
Well, the border between Blaine, Washington, and Canada, East British Columbia, where I live,
mm-hmm.
at the Peace Arch is called. There's a park there, the Peace Arch Park, that you can enter from both sides, and it's perfectly legal without having to cross a border.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. It's a token of friendship between the countries, I guess, or something. And I just found out about it. Like, we haven't seen each other for a couple of months.
Uh-huh.
And I saw, I Googled it, and people are sitting together like American women and Canadian guys, or vice versa. Like on blankets and having picnics, and they're like arms around each other, like they're actually
connecting,
able to be together.
Connecting
for the day.
Wow. Oh, yeah. So, this is a tricky situation for a lot of people, and so having a relationship when you're on different sides of the border is a challenge. I just know that if you were connected the way that you are supposed to, then you each bring something unique to the equation, and there's a reason for being separate and yet bonded right now. And so that's a huge piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking in terms of your book? Okay. You said before we started talking about 300 or 400 pages that you had already finished, and it's there. Are you going to spell out what the glyphs mean and how that works, or because I think that's also fascinating.
Got all that in there about glyphs, and a lot of stuff about glyphs. Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, basically, I kind of said how it works. It is it's a little stick writing that they do on the forest floor, or they can even come and do it at your house. I've had it right on my front doorstep. I've had it in my backyard. I've had it in parking lots, like 300 or 400 miles away. And I'm not talking about pieces of straw or something blown up.
Yeah.
This is like, holy crap. You're like, no stuff. Like with an entire parking lot with not another stick or anything like it on it, kind of thing. And also, the symbols are just so obvious, right? So,
I think that's where people get really curious of how that could possibly happen when you're talking 300 or 400 miles away, or you go to the park and then you go back home and all of a sudden your stuff that you left, there's something in its place, and how do they get in and how do they leave? That's
because
what
thought is energy, right? Thought's energy.
Yeah.
They can read your thoughts, and then they can bring themselves or put themselves or do whatever they want to do to make their point in the situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I know that there's no separation. And so when we are caught up in this physical plane thinking that we have to go from point A to point B and get in a car to do it, well, if you're in that other astral state, you're already there and you've set your mind ahead of time, or out of body, whatever, because I've been there, then you're not stuck. But most of the time, we're here thinking everything is physical, and we limit ourselves by just focusing on that. Like you said when you were growing up, and you wondered why everybody was just focused on the material things. And there's so much more than that. And once you meet or connect on this level, and you find this little window of supernatural, but beyond physical, and with these other beings who are actively engaging you, a whole world opens up. And then you're, again, dancing on a different plane and learning. And I'm hoping that you get this book out and that people watch your videos, because it's another way of dealing with something that most of the people right now on the Discovery Channel and all are trying to put into an ape category. And this is not an ape. Well, at least the ones that you're dealing with are not an ape. That's, it's like, okay, so are there many levels, which like humans there are?
Well, people have asked me that lately. Actually, Mike Hurl talked about that. I don't know. They are basically human. They're mitochondrial. Is that the female DNA?
Okay.
I'm not a science kind of guy. I guess it's the female DNA, the mitochondrial, or if it's not the other, I think it is. It's basically all female. So they're basically human but with the male part is unknown. That they don't know where that comes from. And that's why a lot of the samples that people were turning in or whatever, which, I don't care about that stuff, but
right.
Just from the science point of view was being turned away because people were saying it was human, right? Which in essence it was.
Would make sense.
Basically was.
That would make, it's like, it's not a monkey. Darn. Okay.
Right. But getting around to your point, the guys in my area, they're close to people all the time. There's been people around them for a long time. They may be a teaching plan. My point is that humans are humans, and they could have different attitudes, different relationships, different levels of whatever in different areas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It depends on if you run into a cantankerous bunch of humans who need a little comeuppance, and those Sasquatch clans are there to go, okay, Junior.
Well, I guess if you're if you're going around with bad intentions, and whatever, they're not going to appreciate that. So you have to approach them with respect, and you're not going to fool them in any way. You can't sneak up on them and stuff. If you treat them with respect and dignity and honesty and from your heart, that's the best way that you can connect with them. Because you have to be transparent, because you are anyway.
Yeah.
They're not interested in games, right?
Well, and I think that is something that's a message to us as humans anyway. We're not getting very far with our games. So if you're transparent, then there's a whole lot of this you can just drop. You can just say, I'm done with that. And I think that's what you're experiencing. And a lot of the messages from people who do have these really heart-to-heart encounters with Sasquatch is that thing of there's no use playing the games, because it's a waste of time, for one thing, and a waste of energy. And if you want to go forward, that heart connection will help you upgrade and in so many ways raise your vibration, where you'll be able to connect a little bit more efficiently with these kinds of beings. And I think that's what we're being guided to do, because I think there's another element in here along with Sasquatch where that DNA is from, which would explain maybe the little blood stains in the bed.
No, yes, I think so. Not only connect with them, but connect with ourselves.
Yes.
Which is the whole key anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Connecting with ourselves and understanding who we are, and our infinite nature and abilities. And because that's, all the abilities that the Sasquatch people have, we did have at one time, I feel.
Well,
I'm not sure if I guess
okay, so did your telepathic awareness about other people, has that increased, improved? Have you noticed changes in your own abilities after this connection?
Oh, yeah. And Sue is amazing with me. Like, she just, you want to hear a funny little story?
Yeah.
We could do about 10 of these, Wendy. Because we're not even scratching the surface. But I'll just tell you a funny little story about telepathy and whatever. And Sue lived in Eugene, Oregon. Now she just lives over the border from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to have to drive from work. I'd work 12-hour graveyard shifts, and then drive like 8 or 9 hours, like right afterwards, all the way to Oregon from Vancouver. Because she was like halfway down, too. She's like was around Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's part of another story, actually. But it still applies.
But I digress. Okay.
It actually still perfectly applies to this. Actually, but that soft story on my big drive or whatever was a part of getting lost in the woods story. But that's okay.
Okay.
It still applies. So anyway, on the way down, I stop at a store and I get these gordettos. You know what they are?
No.
They're a snack.
Oh, a snack. Okay, yes. I know. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And they got like one of the packs has like 4 or 5 different little things in there, and then they do a one with the best thing that they put in the multi pack, whatever, which is the little rye crisps.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know. I've had them.
So I
yes.
that. Yeah, I love them, and they're kind of vinegary or something, or kind of
and crisp.
Nice flavor. So anyway, so I picked some of them up, gordettos, right?
Yes.
Ate them on the way down. So when we got there, we had to get a couple things before we went to the house, because I figured once I'm there, I'm not getting out till the next morning. So I guess we went straight to the, Walmart or someplace.
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking around in the store, and I said, I got to get, I want to go look for those tasty chips that I picked up on the way up, okay? And she said, you mean gordettos? Does that make any sense? Like, gordettos are not chips, for one thing.
Well, they're like Chex Mix, only they're upscale.
Yeah, they're not chips. And who the heck is going to think of gordettos?
Yeah.
How could she come up with that?
Yeah, that's good.
And you know what? And the other thing was, at that point, I remember I hadn't actually remembered the name myself. I was trying to formulate it. She came up with it even before I did.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah.
I forgot about that part. That part's really interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that part of it.
Well,
I gotta edit that in my book now. That's kind of important, isn't it?
See, we've helped. Yes, there you go. Okay, we're going to have to stop. We're going to have to stop. I know you've got about 10 or 15 more of these stories, but see, that's a tease for doing more conversations. How's that?
10 or 15 more?
Yeah, well, yeah, at least, just to get started, but not right now.
Well, at least, yeah, okay.
At least. All right, so for anyone who wants to connect with you, now that you're really working on your book, got a little bit more oomph going behind it, then they're going to first check out your videos on YouTube, Sasquatch BC, The True Story, okay, with Brian Bland, or they can connect with you on Facebook. But I think the videos are where you need to start, because that way you can find out about the glyphs and all the stuff, the giving tree. We didn't get into any of that, but I just wanted to set, yeah, okay, no. So on that happy note,
didn't get into any of the sightings or any of that stuff?
No. Well, we have to get to know you first. So there you go.
There you go.
So in the meantime, though, the shorter interview is on the radio KCMO, and the longer interview is here. And so that's kind of a payoff for tuning in a little bit longer and getting the full story. But I think, you're in a wonderful place where you have access and you also have opportunity to be able, the time, to go spend and do this, where you're bringing information that people, I think, really need, in terms of, these aren't apes. It's not something that you're going to deal on a manifest physical realm. You're asked to upgrade your awareness and work with the telepathic skills to be able to bridge, and then you get rewarded. At least you are being rewarded.
This is the whole crux of it, and the whole thing for me is that it's a teaching for me. It's teaching me about myself and the universal nature of everything. But as far as sharing it with other people, I don't care about anything. I don't care even who believes me. Really, it's fine as long as somebody somewhere gets something out of it, and it sparks something in them, or some truth, something good happens, and that's all I care about. I just, right? So.
Okay, and I also want to recommend your conversation with Michael Harrell, because you guys were talking about enlightenment, and I wanted to get into that too, but we didn't have time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
See,
we could talk about a lot of stuff, eh?
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. We have so much to talk about. Now we're out of time. But we kind of dropped a few breadcrumbs here at the very end. So if somebody wants to find out more, then we'll reconnect and go into some of those other really cool, fun topics. Because It's a whole big world out there, and we have just barely scratched the surface.
Yes.
Okay. Brian
Absolutely.
Bland, thank you. I appreciate your time, and we'll reconnect.
Thank you so much. I loved it. Yeah, great talking to you and get to know you a bit.
Thank you.
Instacart shoppers know groceries. They know that you can't make guacamole with rock-hard avocados. They know how to quickly find those peanut butter pretzels you can never find. And they keep you in the know by giving you updates about your order along the way. Let Instacart shoppers help take shopping off your plate so you can get time and energy back for what really matters. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
When things feel a bit chaotic, Instacart helps deliver milk and sausage. Add a little life to your cart. Get stuff from literally all your stores, from baby wipes to albacore. Add a little life to your cart. Instacart helps get your groceries. Your first 3 deliveries are free.
Download Instacart. Add life to cart. Terms apply.